Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So today we have gathered here for the post-contest discussion for September lunchtime. So here, as Shubhu Bhaiya said, we'll be discussing the Division 3 problems. Okay, so I'll be explaining the first two problems. So without further ado, let's get started. So in the September lunchtime, the first problem was vaccine dates. So just let us have a look at that problem. So the name of the problem is vaccine dates. So I'll be explaining this problem. So basically the first two problems, so division 3, they were very easy problems. Okay, so it was very fundamental problems. So first of all, just let us just quickly read the question statement and then we'll proceed with the code. So here it is written that there's a chef who has taken the first dose of vaccine D days ago. Now he may take the second dose in no less than L days and no more than R days, right? So what we'll have to determine? We'll have to determine whether it is the correct time to take the vaccine or whether it's late or whether it's too early. Okay, so accordingly, we'll have to give a message. So it's a very simple problem. So now, as you can see that here, what are the input that we need to take? So we need to take the input for a variable t that stands for the number of test cases. And after that, we need to take the input for three variables, d, l, and r. So here d is given. So d is the number of days before you have taken the first vaccine. L is the number of days due to take the vaccine, and R is this variable over here, right? So this is a very simple problem, and what all we need to print. Basically, we need to print three messages, right? So if the vaccine date has not arrived, we'll be printing too early. If the vaccine date has arrived, we will be printing this message, take the second dose now immediately. And if the vaccine date is already due, I mean that if it has already passed, we can say that it's too late. Okay, so these are the three messages that we are going to display. Okay, and also just follow these constraints because these constraints are absolutely important. If you don't follow these constraints, you might end up in any error. Okay, so I'll be just quickly explaining this thing. So now just look at this thing. I need to take the input for D. Now, if the value of D, it is less than the value of L, so obviously it's too early to take the vaccine, right? So that is the first case. Now, what is the second case? The second case is that, I'll just be showing this thing. If the value of D, if it is less than L, so then it's obviously too early. The date has not yet arrived. It's too early, right? Now, if the value of D, it lies between L and R, if the value of T, if it lies between L and R, so then what can we conclude? It is the right time to take the vaccine. It's the right time to take the second dose, right? And now the third case. So what is the third case? If the value of D it is greater than, so I'll give an equals to sign over here. And if the value of T is greater than R, so what does this mean? This means obviously the vaccination date is already passed, has already passed. So it's already too late. Okay, so we'll print this message, too late. Okay, so this is a very simple program and we can implement these three conditions using an if-else block. So I'll just be showing the code. I hope you can see my code. So basically, I've taken over four variables, T, D, L, and R. So T is the number of test cases, and this is the constraint over here. That means the value of T should lie between 1 to 10 to the power of 5, which I've entered using the power function. Now I have used a while loop. Okay, so a while loop, while T minus minus. Now inside the while loop, I have taken the input for these three variables, D, L, and R. Okay, so now this is again the constraint. If D is greater than 1 and if the value of D is less than 10 to the power of 9. So as I've said, you need to implement these constraints. It's very important, right? Now let's just arrive to the main part of the code. So what is the main part? So actually, this is the main part of the code. Okay, this is the main part of the code. So this is the first condition. If D is less than L, it's too early. If the value of D is greater than equals to L, and if it is less than equals to R, so take the second dose now. And if it is, and I have just implemented an else, so basically, you need not write the third condition, or you may write it. That's not compulsory. So it will be printing too late. Okay, so this is a very simple code. Let me just show you by running this code. So, okay, so I'll be showing you with a single test case. So let's just take a single test case. So first of all, I need to enter the value of D. So let me just take any random number 5. Now I need to enter the value of L. Okay. So let me just take 4 and I need to enter the value of R now. Say suppose 8. So obviously it will show us that it is the correct time to take the second dose, because 4 and 8, okay, because the value 5, the value of T, it lies between L and R, 4 and 8. So obviously it will be showing us this message, take the second dose now. So this is a very simple program and it's the very basic first program. So are there any doubts from this first question, or is it clear? Is this thing clear? If there is any doubt, you can just tell me. Is there any doubt? Anyone? Okay, I hope that everyone has submitted this question, because I saw that there were a lot of submissions in this question. Okay, so I hope that there are no doubts, right? Can anyone please respond if there are any doubts? Okay, so let's just move to the second problem now. So I hope the first problem is clear. Okay, so the name of the second problem is two dishes. It's another very interesting problem. So this problem is also a very beginner level problem. So I'll be just explaining this. So what is the problem saying basically? Let's just first understand that, and then we'll moving on to the code, right? So now just read the question statement properly for all. So it's written that there is a chef and the chef has n guests, right? And the chef will prepare a dish. Now there are two options. He can prepare each one, or he can prepare dish 2. So there are basically two options. Now it's written that if he wants to prepare dish 1, he needs two items. One is a fruit and the other one is a vegetable. And if he wants to prepare the second dish, he needs two things. One is a vegetable and the other one is a fish, right? So these are the two dishes that are possible. Now what we need to do? So we need to determine whether it's possible to feed all the guests or not, right? So just read the question statement properly. Now the chef has A fruit, B vegetables, and C fishes. So we have three variables over here. Okay, so the number of fruits is A, the number of vegetables is B, and the number of fishes is C, right? Now the question that he's asking us is that can he prepare at least n dishes in total? Okay.
Shinton, I think you have got unmuted. Muted actually. Like,
Am I audible now? Hello?
yes, now you're audible.
Great. Okay. So I hope you can see my screen, right?
Yes, Shantan is visible.
Great. So as I was saying that, what is the question asking us? The question is asking us that can we prepare n dishes, right? So we need to ensure, just read the statement carefully. He wants to serve at least one dish to each of the n guests. So we need to ensure that no one is left out, right? So at all the guests, they should at least receive one dish. Okay, no one should be left out. So this is the thing that we need to ensure. Again, what are the inputs that we need to take? We need to take T, the number of test cases, and we need to take the input for 4 variables, N, A, B, and C, right? So A is the number of fruits, B is the number of vegetables, and C is the number of fishes. Okay. Now what we need to print? So we need to print either a yes or a no. Yes means that yes, the chef can prepare n dishes for all the guests, and no means that he cannot prepare. Okay. And again, just keep a note of these constraints. So the constraints won't affect much because the values are too low. So you can just neglect them if you want, but you can use them if you want. Okay. So I'll just be quickly explaining that how you can solve this problem. Okay, I'll be just going to that part now. Okay. So now we have been said that basically we have two kinds of dishes, right? So dish 1 and dish 2, right? So in dish 1, what do we have? In dish 1, we can prepare dish 1 by using two items. One is a fruit and the other one is a vegetable, right? And also we can prepare dish by using a vegetable or a fish. right? So I'm writing in short form. So we can prepare dish 2 by a vegetable and a fish. Now, what is the question? So the question is that there are total n guests. There are total n guests. Now we need to ensure that all of the guests, they receive at least one dish. Okay, so how can we solve this problem? Now just look at one thing. The vegetable, it's common in both of the dishes, right? It's basically common in both of the dishes. So what does this mean? What does this signify? This signifies that the total number of vegetables, it should be at least n. It can be greater than n, but it should be at least equal to n, so that all the guests, they at least receive one dish. If you want to ensure that the number of vegetables should be at least equal to n. So the number of vegetables, it should be at least equal to n. So it can be greater than also. Okay. So this is the first condition that we need to implement. This is a very important condition. So it's very obvious because the number of vegetables, it's common in both the dishes. So the total number of vegetables, it should be minimum, the number of minimum vegetables, it should be equal to n. Now, what is the second condition that we must implement? The second condition, just look at the other two items. So we have a fruit and we have a fish over here, right? We have a fruit and we have a fish. So what does this mean? So we can do one thing. So the number of fruits, the sum of fruits and fishes. Okay. So the sum of fruits and fishes, the value of this thing also, it should be greater than n. Right? So why is this thing happening? So it's very obvious again. So if the sum of fruits and fish, if it was less than n, obviously we couldn't have fed all the guests, right? So their sum also should be greater than equals to n. So that means that minimum value of sum of fruits and fishes, it should be equal to n, right? So this is the second condition that we need to satisfy. Now we need to satisfy both these conditions, right? We need to satisfy both these conditions. So how to do that? So we'll be using the logical AND operator for that. Okay, and we are not supposed to use a logical OR operator because we need to satisfy both the conditions simultaneously, right? So these are the two conditions that we need to use. So is this thing clear? Why am I using these conditions? Or does anyone have any doubt? I can repeat this thing again. Okay, is this thing clear? Should I move to the code? Come on, it's a discussion, right? So everyone should
Yes,
interact.
it is clear, Shanton. Up until
It's clear,
here,
right?
it's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's fine. So now let's just quickly move to the code, right? So again, I have taken 4 variables, T, D, L, and R, and they are of long integer data type. Now I have taken the input for the number of test cases. After that, I have just implemented the constraint over here. Okay. After that, what I've done, okay, this is the sorry, this is the first problem. Okay, this is the second problem. Now I've taken 5 variables over here, T, N, A, B, and C. So T is the number of test cases, N is the number of total dishes that we need to prepare, A is the number of fruits, and B is the number of vegetables, and C is the number of fishes. Okay. So now I have implemented a while loop, and after that I've taken the input for these 4 variables, N, A, B, and C. Now again, it's a very easy problem. So I've implemented these two conditions. So the total number of vegetables, it should be at least equal to n. It can be greater than n as well. So this is the first condition. And after giving the logical AND operator, I've implemented the second condition. That is the sum of the fish and fruit. It should be also, the minimum value should also be equal to n. It can be greater than n, but the minimum value should be equal to n. So then only we can feed all the guests. Otherwise we won't be able to do that. So I have printed a yes, and otherwise I've printed a no. Simple as that. Okay. So this is a very simple program again. So let me just show you this code by running this problem. Okay, let me just take a single test case for the time being. Okay, let me just get a sample test case. Okay, so 2121, and the answer should come as yes. So I'll just show you by this thing. 2121. Can you see it? Yes over here? Right? So that means that we can feed all the guests. Okay, so we can feed all the guests. So there are total n number of guests, there are total 2 number of guests, and we can feed all the guests. Right? So that is showing a yes. So this is a very simple problem. So is there any doubt with this problem? Just tell me a yes or no. Anyone has any doubt with this problem? Yeah. Was anyone trying to say?
Yeah, the problem is clear. The solution is clear.
It's clear, right? Great, great. Okay. So now we'll be moving on to the third problem. So now Sushman will be taking over from this point. So over to you, Sushman. You can proceed with the third problem now.
Thank you, Shantanu.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so can anyone confirm is the screen visible?
Yeah, it's absolutely visible.
Yes. So the third question, the name of the question is prefix sum. So in this problem, we are given an integer n, and we have to construct two arrays A and B, and confirm if there are four conditions, and we have to say if A and B actually satisfy the four conditions. So the conditions are the length of A and B must be equal. In both the arrays A and B, the integers 1 to n must be present in exactly one of the arrays. The ith prefix sum of A must not be equal to the ith prefix sum of B. That is the sum of elements till ith index of A must not be equal to the ith index sum of the elements till ith indexed in B. For I 1 to n by 2 minus 1. And finally, the sum of all the elements of A must be equal to the sum of all the elements of B. So if all the four conditions satisfy, then we will be considering both the arrays to be interesting pair arrays, and we have to print yes and both the arrays, and if it does not satisfy all the conditions, then we will print no. So the input
Can
format.
you explain it again? I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, we need to form two arrays, A and B, and we need to check for four conditions. If A and B satisfy all the four conditions, then it would be called an interesting pair array. Else we will print no. So the conditions are the length of array A and length of array B are equal. The numbers 1 to n must be present in exactly one of the array. The ith prefix sum of A must not be equal to the ith prefix sum of A. That means the sum of all the elements till the ith index in A must not be equal to the sum of the elements till ith index in B. And finally, the sum of all the elements of A must be equal to the sum of the elements of B. Is the question clear now?
I think you can take an example, Sushman, to make it even more clear.
Okay. So we take the given test case 4. So for 4, the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 must be included within the two arrays A and B. And we have to form the two arrays A and B such that the length of A and B must be equal. All numbers between 1 and 4 must be present in either A or B, and the prefix sum of A must not be equal to the prefix sum of B for I between 1 to n by 2 minus 1. That means except for the last prefix sum, the prefix sum must not be equal. And finally, the sum of all the elements of A must be equal to the sum of all the elements of B. That is 1 plus 4, it's 5, and it's equal to 2 plus 3. Let's see this. These are the conditions. The length of A must be equal to B. And all numbers between 1 to n must be present in either A or B. And the prefix sum of A must not be equal to the prefix sum of B. And finally, the sum of elements of array A must be equal to sum of elements of array B. So let's consider for any value n equal to 6, the elements that must be present in either A or B are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So these are the numbers which must be present in either of the two arrays, A or B. We can see that the sum of the 6 elements is coming out to be 21. But as 21 is an odd number, so we can't actually divide it into two halves, two arrays of equal sum, which actually would come 10 to the 10.5, which is not possible. But for n equal to 8, we can see that the elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and the sum is coming out to be 36. So we can actually divide it into two halves, 18 and 18. I mean, the sum of all the elements of array A would be 18, and sum of all the elements of array B will be 18 as well. So if we check for some values of n, we can see that for 4, the prefix sum is the actual sum of all the elements is coming out to be 10. For 6, it's coming out to be 21. For 8, it's coming out to be 36, and so on. So we can see a pattern that if n is divisible by 4, then the sum of all the elements is coming out to be even. But for numbers which aren't divisible by 4, it's coming out to be odd. So we can actually also prove it that the sum of elements will of numbers which aren't divisible by 4 but are even will always be coming out to be 1. If we see if the number is divisible by 4, we can write the sum to be, we can consider n to be 4 into x, where x is some arbitrary constant. So 4x into 4x plus 1 by 2. This part is odd, so we can neglect it for now. And it's coming out to be 2x into some odd term, which is actually even. But for a number which is not divisible by 4, let's suppose n equal to 4x plus 2. The sum is coming out to be 4x plus 2 into 4x plus 3 by 2. This number is odd. We can see from here this number is odd. For this also it would be odd. And simplifying this, we can find out it's 2x plus 1, which is also odd. So if we multiply two odd number, it would come as an odd number. So we can see that if a number is not divisible by 4, then sum of all the elements from 1 till that element will be odd. And if it's divisible by 4, then it would be even. So so the answer must be so if only the n is divisible by 4, then only we will get the valid answer. That is, we can actually form two arrays A and B of the conditions given, which satisfies the 4 given conditions. Okay, so let's look at another test case. For n equal to 8, these are the numbers that must be present in either A or B. So what we can do is that we can actually divide we can actually divide it into 4 different parts of equal length. So if we divide it into 4 equal parts, we will get this. This is the first part, 3 and 4 is the second part, 5 and 6 is the third part, and 7 and 8 is the fourth part. Now we can see that if we add part 1 and part 4, we will be getting the sum as 18. And if we add the part 2 and part 3, we will also get the sum as 18. So we can see that if we divide the this array into 4 parts and append the first part and the fourth part to form one array, and the second part and the third part to form another array, we will get our desired result. So we have actually done that. We have formed an array, formed two array using that particular thing, that we append the first part and the fourth part and as one array, and the second part and the third part as second array. So let's check if all the four conditions are satisfying for a given number, for let's say n equal to 12. So let's for n equal to 12, the array A will be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And similarly, the array B will be 1, 2, 3, and then 10, 11, and 12. So the first condition is satisfied, that the length of A must be equal to the length of B. And all the numbers between 1 and 12 have appeared in either A or B. So both the conditions are satisfied. Now we can actually find the sum of all the elements, and it's coming out to be 39 for both A and B. So that that condition is also fulfilled. And now for finally the third condition, that except for the last one, the prefix sum of A must not be equal to the prefix sum of B. So we can see that as we proceed, the prefix sum of A is 4, 9, 15, 22, etc. And for B, it's 1, 3, 6, and 16, etc. So we can see the difference of the prefix sum. For the first case is 3. For the second case is 6. For the third case, it's 9. And then it's decreasing. So we can see for till half of the required array, the difference between the two prefix sums is gradually increasing, and then after it crosses the half mark, it gradually decreases. So so for any number n, we can say that for the difference of the prefix sum of A and B would not be equal to 0 at any given position, except for the last one. So let's go to the code. So this is the code. I have taken, we have to take t test cases. In each test case, we input one integer n. We are checking if n is divisible by 4. If yes, then there is possibility. Then there is the two arrays A and B are possible. So here, the first array we have found. This is the 4 part that we have divided. This is the first part of the 4 parts. I mean, this part. This is the first part. It is half of one of the arrays, required arrays. This is actually the 4th part, which is the other half of the required array, and this is a combination of the second and the third half. So this two forms one array, and this actually forms the second array. And if this condition does not fulfill, then we will be simply printing no. So let's run the code for the given test cases. So as we can see that it's giving a correct answer as desired. So anyone have any problem? Is there any doubt regarding this problem? Hello? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Sushant, you're audible.
Yes, I think it's clear, Sushwan. It's clear up until this point.
Okay, so no one has any problem, right? So I will be moving on to the fourth question. This question, yet another SOD problem. So in this problem, we are given two integers n and r, which is basically the lower limit and the upper limit of a given bound, and we have to print the number of integers in the sequence whose sum of the digits is divisible by 3. So now we know that if the sum of digits is divisible by 3, then the number itself is divisible by 3. So yes, so if the number is divisible by 3, then the sum of the digits itself is divisible by 3, and it's vice versa. So the given number, the given limit is L to R, and we need to find the numbers which are divisible. We need to actually find the count of numbers which are divisible by 3 in the range of L to R. So let's consider a case where L equal to 8 and R equal to 17. So the sequence would be 9 up till 17. This is the sequence which we will get, and the numbers which are actually divisible by 3 are 9, 12, and 15 in this particular sequence. So what we will do is that we will actually increase L till L is divisible by 3. I mean, we will increment, let's suppose for this case, we will increment 8 to 9, and we will find that 9 is divisible by 3. So we will stop there. And similarly, we will decrement R till R mod 3 is equal to 0. So we will decrement 17. We find that 17 is not divisible by 3. We will decrease it by 1. 16, it's also not divisible by 3. We will decrease it to 15. And we can find that 15 is actually divisible by 3. So we will stop there. So we have actually altered the given sequence, and the new limits are 9 to 15. So we can see that for this limit also, the numbers which are actually divisible by 3 are 9, 12, and 15. So the numbers elements which are divisible by 3 will not change by decreasing this limits. Now we can find that 15 minus 9, which is 6, by 3 is 2, and 1 plus 1, it's giving the answer that the number of the number of elements that are divisible by 3 are actually 3. I mean, we have to find the difference between the limits and divide it by 3 and add 1 to it, and we can find the number of elements that are actually divisible by 3. For this case, 15 minus 9 will give 6, and dividing it will be with 3 will give 2, and adding 1 will give 3. So number of elements which are actually divisible by 3 are actually 3 for this case. So let's look at the code. We have taken t test cases input, and for each test case we have taken L and R as input, the lower limit and the upper limit of the range of the array, or the limit actually, and we have actually increased the limit till the point that L is divisible by 3, and we have actually decremented R. We have actually decremented R. We have actually subtracted the modulus of R mod 3 which is actually the remainder when we divide R by 3 and actually subtracted it from R. So it would also come out to be the new R will also be divisible by 3. And now we have applied the formula R minus L by 3 plus 1 and to get our desired result. So these were the given test case for the problem. So we can see that the given test case are giving correct answers as expected. Okay, so any problem? Any doubts? Hello?
Yeah, there is one doubt in the chat box.
Yeah.
Uh,
The-
N-
for problems,
Nilavio is asking that for
can we
problems
see-
like prefix sum, can you suggest how is one supposed to approach the problem so as to get the pattern?
Actually, I saw that, one second. For this problem, I saw that the sum must be equal. So for this problem particularly, the sum of all the elements of A and sum of all the elements of B must be equal. So the combined sum of A and B must be an even number. And this is one case. And the length of A and length of B must be equal. So must be equal. So the value of N must be even. So we can see that the sum of all the elements till N must be even, and N itself must be an even number. So I had actually drawn this chart in my copy, checking for some test cases to find a pattern in the problem. I saw that for 4, it's the sum is coming out to be 10. For 6, it's coming out to be 21. For 8, it's coming out to be 36, and so on. I mean, for numbers which are divisible by 4, it's coming out to be even, and for numbers which aren't divisible by 4, it's coming out to be odd. So I just ruled out the possibility of N being a number which is not divisible by 4. So this was the thing, and then I actually divided this into 4 equal parts and saw that the sum of the first and the last part is coming out to be equal to half of the total sum. So obviously, if the sum of the first part and the last part is coming out to be half of the total sum, then the middle two, I mean the second and the third half, will also be equal to half of the total sum. So that case would also be fulfilled. And this one, the prefix sum thing, this will also be valid because we can see that for A and B, always for half of the elements, the elements of A and B are increasing at the same rate. I mean, it's 1 and then it's 2, it's 4 and then it's 5. So the mean difference is always 3. So till half, it would always be increasing, and never the prefix sum would be equal. And after that, it would gradually decrease at the same rate. I mean, the 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 12, it would be decreasing at the same rate. So as till half, it has increased at a certain rate, and it's also decreasing at the same rate. So it would be 0 at the end of the array. So we can directly conclude that the prefix sum of A and prefix sum of B would never be equal for such cases. So yeah, I hope you got your answer.
Actually, Suswan, I also had a separate approach for the part where you said that N must be divisible by 4.
Yes.
So if you allow, I would like to share that.
Yeah, sure. I'm stopping my
No,
screen.
no need to stop sharing. So like the sum of all the elements is n into n by 2, and since each array should have the sum equal to sum by 2, so the sum of all the elements in a particular array should be n into n plus 1 by 4. Now it has also been mentioned that n is an even number, so n plus 1 must be an odd number. So, but again, we also know that n into n plus 1 by 4 is a quantity that must exist. That is, it must have an integral value. So n by 4 is the only way that we can do, because n plus 1 is already an odd number. So by that also we can say that n mod 4 should be equal to 0. Do you agree?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Actually,
absolutely, Girish. That also
that's
makes
the
perfect sense.
mathematical approach, and I actually took the different test cases and saw the pattern. And what you said is the mathematical approach of that.
Okay, nice, nice.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the last two problems. So thank you, Sishwan. It was a very wonderful explanation for the last two problems. So now we will move on. I'm sharing my screen. Hope it is visible and uh, I'm audible. Please confirm. Is the screen visible?
Yes, Shubho, we can see your screen.
Okay, cool. So just one more thing before I start off. I just want to ask you that is it okay if I converse in a mix of Hindi and English? I mean, not strictly English, but I mean, just could you all give me a thumbs up, or because that way it would be more interactive, I think. Okay, so I'm starting on. So first problem is we have this problem Alice and Bob face off. So I hope that you have read the problem during the contest yesterday. If not, no worries, I'm explaining it to you again. So basically क्या है ना कि Alice and Bob, these are दो बंदे हैं, Alice and Bob है. Typically game theory की problem में ऐसे ही होता है, एक बंदा Alice होता है, एक Bob होता है, and we have a number n. So Alice and Bob, turn by turn, they play, and the rule is something like, suppose consider we can think n is 5, and we have this guy Alice, we have this guy Bob. So now Alice plays first, and the rule of the game is कि सबसे the person who has to play, so उसका पहला move होगा move 1, जहाँ पे he has to choose a value x. Okay, he has to choose a value x, और जो x है वो 2 to the power k के फॉर्म का होगा, right? 2 to the power k के फॉर्म का होगा, यानी कि it can be something like 2, 4, 8, 16 and so on, infinite extent हो सकता है. This is one constraint, and secondly वो n को divide करना चाहिए. So these are the two properties that has to be satisfied. So if a certain x exists which satisfies this property, then he can choose that x and divide n by the value x. ये move 1 है. So like suppose Alice खेल रहा है, so he first tries to search for a value x which is of the form 2 to the power k and which divides n, and if such a x exists, then he divides n by x. So if suppose no such x exists, ऐसा x है ही नहीं हमारे पास, तब हम लोग सिंपली क्या करेंगे कि n को 1 से घटा देंगे. 5 है तो 4 हो जाएगा, 4 है तो 3 हो जाएगा. Okay, are we cool? These are the rules of the game. Yeah, just a second, guys. 1 second. Okay, fine. Okay, so ये rule I'm just giving an example. Suppose our n was 5. ठीक है, so पहले Alice का chance है. अब एलिस ही फर्स्ट ट्राइज टू फाइंड दैट x जो 2 टू द पावर k का फॉर्म का है, तो 2 हो सकता है, 4 हो सकता है, बट बिकॉज इट्स ऑड नंबर, तो 2 and 4 डिवाइड करने का कोई सवाल ही नहीं है, तो ही विल डिक्रीमेंट इट बाय 1, 4 हो जाएगा, मूव 2 खेलेगा। देन बॉब का चांस है। अब देखो, अब अपने पास 2 एक ऑप्शन है, 4 एक ऑप्शन है, so move 1 में he can either choose x to be 2 or he can choose x to be 4। सपोज मैं 2 चूज कर रहा हूँ, 2 चूज करने से क्या होगा, मैं इसको 2 से डिवाइड कर दूंगा, ठीक है, 2 से डिवाइड करने से इट विल रिड्यूस टू 2 नाउ। सो बॉब का चांस था and he chose x to be 2, he divided it by 2 and it became 2। now it's again Alice का chance, Alice will again choose x to be 2 because वो एग्जिस्ट कर रहे हैं, एंड 2 चूज करके उसको वापस डिवाइड कर देगा तो 1 हो जाएगा। अभी बॉब का चांस है, तो बॉब अभी तो 1 से और कुछ कर नहीं सकते, तो -1 करके 0 करना होगा। अब जैसे ही 0 हो जाता है, अभी एलिस का चांस है, बट एलिस कुछ खेल नहीं पाएगा बिकॉज 0 जैसे ही 0 हो जाएगा, गेम विल स्टॉप, गेम ओवर। इफ यू सी द क्वेश्चन, तो यहाँ पे बोल रहा है कि अगर लाइक द गेम कंटिन्यूज अंटिल n becomes 0, तो जैसे ही 0 हो गया तो गेम खत्म हो गया, एलिस का चांस था, एलिस खेल नहीं पाया, एलिस हार गया, एंड द विनर इज बॉब। सो ये क्लियर है ना कि अगर द गेम प्रोसीड्स इन दिस वे, तब अपना विनर बॉब होगा। आर वी क्लियर अप अंटिल दिस पॉइंट? यहाँ तक किसी को कोई डाउट, कोई परेशानी, कोई दिक्कत? सो प्लीज लेट मी नो। आर वी क्लियर? This is how the game proceeds. If not, then I'll give you another example. If it's clear, then I'll proceed with the logic. Hello, am I audible? Am I visible?
Shubha, there is no issues. You can continue.
Okay, cool. So, अभी just I want to give you my personal opinion कि ऐसे जो गेम थ्योरी के प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं, एलिस बॉब का प्रॉब्लम होता है, जैसे 2 लोग हैं, एलिस से बॉब है, and Alice will play first. So always think in point of Alice. Think कि मैं Alice हूँ, and I have to win the game at any cost. मैं Alice हूँ और मुझे Alice को गेम जिताना है। So मुझे इस तरीके से सोचना है कि मैं कैसे गेम को जीत सकता हूँ। मुझे ऐसा एक स्ट्रैटेजी, ऑप्टिमल गेम स्ट्रैटेजी डिवाइस करना है जिससे मैं Alice को जिता सकूं, और वैसे सारे केस कंसिडर कर देना है। और अगर सपोज बाय द वे ऐसा कोई भी स्ट्रैटेजी काम करता ही नहीं है, तो आखिरी में इनके चारा बचा नहीं है, तो बॉब को जिताना होगा। सो ऑलवेज थिंक इन टर्म्स ऑफ एलिस। दोनों को एक साथ कंसिडर करोगे तो बहुत दिक्कत, बहुत कंफ्यूजन हो जाएगा। एक के टर्म्स में सोचो, वो अगर काम नहीं करता है तो फिर अगला बंदा जीत जाएगा। फाइन, सो कूल। सो अभी मैं एक स्ट्रैटेजी बोल रहा हूँ तुम लोग को, जो कि पूरा नाइव अप्रोच है। कंसिडर करते हैं कि अपने पास n अगर सपोज 1000 है, कंस्ट्रेंट देख लेते हैं, n का वैल्यू कैन बी मैक्सिमम कंस्ट्रेंट में बाप रे 10 टू द पावर 18 तक है। सो मतलब इट्स अ वेरी बिग नंबर। सो अगर 10 टू द पावर 18 तक है, तो सिंपली ये मान के चलो कि ऑर्डर ऑफ n काम करेगा नहीं, ऑर्डर ऑफ n स्क्वायर तो और छोड़ दो, ऑर्डर ऑफ log n काम कर सकता है। बाइनरी सर्च लगा सकते हैं, लगाना है तो, बट I don't think it's a binary search problem. But just like one more thing, first before you think of a strategy how to solve, just look at the constraint कि मेरा, and after looking at the constraint you think of the time complexity कि मेरा जो strategy का time complexity है वो order of n हो नहीं सकता। So I cannot like iterate all the values from 1 to n की check करते जाऊं कि ये काम करेगा कि नहीं, so that will not work out। But हाँ, this is a lunchtime contest, यहाँ पे सब tasks होते हैं। So if you solve for n less than equal to 20, then you will get 10 points. If it works for n less than equal to 10 to the power 5, then you will get 30 plus 10 40 points. And अगर तुम पूरा general case को solve कर लोगे, तो तुम्हें पूरा 100 points will deserve the full 100 points to it. So this is it. So मैं general strategy बोल रहा हूँ, मैं पहले normal approach बोल रहा हूँ। Suppose n अपना 1000 है, ठीक है, मैं Alice के लिए खेलूंगा, मैं Alice हूँ, मुझे जीतना है गेम। अभी ये 1000 है, तो पहला मुझे चेक करना है कि अपना जो मूव 1 है वो है कि अगर नंबर 2 टू द पावर x के फॉर्म का होगा, तो आई विल डिवाइड इट। मतलब अपने पास 2 हो गया, 4 हो गया, 8 हो गया, 16 हो गया, एंड सो ऑन। ओके, 16 एंड सो ऑन। सो अगर ये इवन है, तब मैं 2 से तो डिवाइड कर ही सकता हूँ। So either I can divide it by 2 and reduce it to 500, or I can divide it by 4 and reduce it to 250, or I can divide it by 8 and reduce it to 125. 16 से I don't think होगा क्या? I don't think कि 16 से ये divisible है. So yeah, this is it. So these are the three choices. Either मैं 2 से divide कर दूं, या फिर 4 से divide कर दूं, या फिर 8 से divide कर दूं. So ये Alice का chance है. So अभी like if I have a function, say f of suppose w of n मेरा current number है, suppose अभी 1000 है, so w of n equal to 1 है, implies Alice wins. and अगर ये 0 है तो Bob wins. ठीक है, मैं फंक्शन डिफाइन कर रहा हूं जो कि मेरा करंट नंबर को लेगा, एंड अगर एलिस जीतेगा तो दैट विल इंपोर्ट 1 कि ठीक है बढ़िया है, एलिस जीत गया, ट्रू. एंड अगर सपोज एलिस जीत नहीं सकता है तो बॉब को ही जिताना होगा, सो इट विल रिटर्न 0, यानी कि फॉल्स. कुछ कर नहीं सकते, अब तो बचा नहीं है. सो मैं क्या करूंगा, सपोज मुझे W ऑफ 100 है पहले, सो ईदर W ऑफ 500 को पहले कोशिश करूंगा निकालने का, W ऑफ 250 को निकालूंगा, फिर W ऑफ 125 को निकालूंगा. इनमें से एटलीस्ट एक भी अगर 1 हो जाए ना, तो एलिस वो पर्टिकुलर मूव को वो ऑप्टिमली खेलेगा. यहाँ पे एक चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है कि दोनों एलिस एंड बॉब ऑप्टिमली खेल रहे हैं. देखो लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे कि इट्स क्लियरली स्टेटेड कि बोथ दीज गाइस दे प्ले द गेम ऑप्टिमली. या बोथ दीज गाइस प्ले द गेम ऑप्टिमली. सो उन लोग अपने पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सोचेंगे मैं कैसे जीतूंगा. सो एलिस ऑप्टिमली खेलने का कोशिश करेगा कि यहाँ में से ही कैन ईदर हैव 500 और 250 और 125. इनमें से एक भी कोई मूव ना विनिंग स्ट्रेटेजी होगा अगर, तो वहीं पे चलेगा, गेम जीत जाएगा. सो वी नीड टू चेक कि इफ ऑल द 3 ऑप्शंस में से कोई भी एक अगर ऑप्शन मेरा काम कर जाए तो मैं जीत गया. सो जस्ट टू डिफाइन इट अगेन, f of w का डेफिनेशन जैसे मैं डिफाइन किया था, इट कैन बी f of w by 2 और f of w by 4 और f of w by 8 and so on. and इनमें से एटलीस्ट 1 अगर ट्रू हो जाता है, एटलीस्ट 1 इज ट्रू, देन वैल्यू तुम्हारा 1 हो जाएगा, एल्स वैल्यू तुम्हारा 0 हो जाएगा. ठीक है, दिस इज हाउ आई डिफाइन दिस होल थिंग. Up until this point, anyone has any doubt, any confusion कि f of w क्या चीज है? f of n एक्चुअली लाइक ये मेरा करंट नंबर है और ये मेरा n by 2, n by 4, n by 8. Is it fine? I hope it is fine. So this is how I can use brute force. I can try out all the options and I can go on trying and trying. इसका base case है, I forgot. f of 0 is equal to 0 हो जाएगा, because suppose n मेरा 0 है, एलिस खेलना तो चाहता है बट खेल ही नहीं पाएगा ना, कुछ बचा ही नहीं है उसके पास, तो वो हार जाएगा, बॉब जीत जाएगा. तो ये बेस केस ऐसे रिड्यूस होते जाएगा. फाइनली जब f of 0 हो जाएगा तो एलिस हार जाएगा एंड देन इट विल रिटर्न 0. Okay, this is the general case and this is the base case of this function. यहां तक किसी को कोई डाउट? I'm waiting. Anyone has anything to ask? If not, then I'm proceeding with the main thing. Okay, fine, cool. So it's good. There is no doubt up until this point. But देखो, अगर तुम लोग इसको इस तरीके से you implement it कि 1000 you will reduce it to like 3 cases and this further gets reduced and this further gets reduced, recursion tree बनेगा obviously because you are like having a recursive relation, तो recursion ऐसे extend करते जाएगा. So this strategy ना actually yeah, first and second तो pass हो जाएगा but third वाला pass नहीं हो पाएगा because ये भी order of n log n के आसपास काम करेगा. क्यों I have not actually like determined the exact time complexity of this particular brute force approach, but like I initially tried this brute force approach only, but then वो मेरा सब टास्क 1 and 2 तो पास हो गया, but जो n अगर 22 और 18 के पावर का है तब वो TLE दे दिया मुझे। तो समझ रहे हो कि ये जो ब्रूट फोर्स कर रहा हूँ, आई एम ट्राइंग आउट ऑल द पॉसिबिलिटीज एंड देन चेकिंग, इससे तुम्हें 60 पॉइंट्स मिल जाएगा, 40 पॉइंट्स मिल जाएगा, बट देन वो इल्यूसिव 60 पॉइंट्स लाने के लिए तुम्हें एक और इसको ऑप्टिमाइज करना होगा। ठीक है, तो वो अब कैसे करें, सॉरी या सो अभी इसको ऑप्टिमाइज करने के लिए वी नीड टू मेक एन ऑब्जर्वेशन कि अगर सुनो, अगर n मेरा 4 का मल्टीपल है, n मेरा अगर 4 का मल्टीपल है, तब देखो ध्यान से क्या होगा। सपोज मान के चलो n मेरा 48 है, करंट n मेरा एलिस खेलना चाह रहा है, एलिस मेरा अभी प्रेजेंट n 48 है, तो अभी मेरे पास दो चॉइस है, बिकॉज n मेरा 4 है तो x कैन बी 2 तो हो ही सकता है बिकॉज इट्स इवन वैल्यू, 4 भी हो सकता है बिकॉज मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि n मॉडुलो 4 तुम्हारा a है, और बाकी और भी रिमेनिंग हो भी सकता है, नहीं भी हो सकता है, आई डोंट केयर। सो अगर मैं सपोज x को 2 चूज कर लूं तो ये 24 हो जाएगा, अगर मैं x को 4 चूज कर लूं तो ये क्या हो जाएगा, 12 हो जाएगा। ठीक है, एलिस के पास दो चॉइस है। अभी ये गेम तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि कब तक चलेगा, जब तक ये 0 ना हो जाए, सॉरी ये 0 ना हो जाए, एंड ये भी कब तक चलेगा, जब तक ये 0 ना हो जाए। एंड ये नंबर और ये नंबर में ना बस 2 के फैक्टर का ही डिफरेंस है, यानी कि अगर मैं बोलूं कि 12 से 0 लाने में आई नीड k नंबर ऑफ मूव्स, so can I say कि 24 से 0 लाने में आई नीड k plus 1 मूव्स, yes or no? बिकॉज यहाँ पे ओनली डिवाइड बाय 2 वाले मूव का ही डिफरेंस है, बाकी पूरे एग्जैक्टली सेम मूव्स होंगे दोनों में, दोनों ऑप्टिमली खेलेंगे अगर तो दोनों के सेम मूव्स होंगे। तो अगर यहाँ पे k मूव्स होंगे तो यहाँ पे k plus 1 मूव्स होंगे, yes or no? ओके, आई टेक
Yes,
इट,
yes.
कूल। सो अभी ध्यान से देखो, अगर यहाँ पे k मूव्स है, यहाँ पे k plus 1 मूव्स है, तो ईदर ऑफ एनी वन वुड बी द ऑप्टिमल गेम स्ट्रेटेजी, बिकॉज कैसा है ना कि द गेम का जो पैटर्न है, एलिस बॉब एलिस बॉब डॉट 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 ऐसे ऑल्टरनेटिंग फैशन में चल रहा है, राइट? सो अगर सपोज आखिरी में सपोज लास्ट जो प्लेयर है जो खेल सकता है वो विनर है, तो अगर सपोज k नंबर ऑफ मूव्स में एलिस आखिरी बंदा होगा तो k plus 1 नंबर ऑफ मूव्स में बॉब आखिरी वाला बंदा होगा, या वाइस वर्सा, अगर k नंबर ऑफ मूव्स के बाद बॉब आखिरी वाला बंदा होगा तो k plus 1 मूव्स के बाद एलिस वुड बी द लास्ट वन एंड ही वुड बी द विनर। सो इनमें से एटलीस्ट k या k plus 1 कोई एक ना एक तो ऑप्टिमल होगा ना, एक तुम्हारा विनिंग स्ट्रैटेजी होगा, एक तुम्हारा लूजिंग स्ट्रैटेजी होगा, बट तुम्हारे पास दोनों चॉइसेस है, बिकॉज तुम बाई 2 भी चल सकते हो और बाई 4 भी चल सकते हो, है ना? सो अगर मेरा नंबर 4 से डिविजिबल है तब मेरे पास पूरा कंट्रोल है, एंड मेरा आंसर हमेशा मैं जीतूंगा ही जीतूंगा। ये बात समझ में आया तुम लोग को? आर वी क्लियर कि अगर मेरा नंबर 4 से डिविजिबल है तब आई ऑलवेज बी द विनर, आई हैव टोटल कंट्रोल ओवर द गेम, मैं जीतूंगा ही जीतूंगा। इज इट फाइन? अगर मैं एलिस हूं, अगर सपोज मुझे 100 है, 100 4 का मल्टीपल है, तो मैं इधर उसको 50 चल सकता हूँ या 25 चल सकता हूँ, आई हैव टोटल कंट्रोल। और बॉब वैसे जैसे बोल रहा हूँ वैसे ही चलेगा, सो आई विल विन द गेम, राइट? सो अगर ये तुमने ऑब्जर्वेशन लगा लिया, सो अब द प्रॉब्लम बिकम्स वेरी इजी। कैसे? आई एम डिफाइनिंग द फंक्शन नाउ, जो मेरा विनिंग वाला स्ट्रैटेजी है, NW, जो कि मेरा करंट नंबर लेगा, राइटिंग डिफाइन कर रहा हूँ तुम लोग को कि एक तो है कि तुम लोग का बेस केस मान लेना कि अगर सपोज मेरा n अगर 0 है तो सिंपली फॉल्स रिटर्न करवा देना कि मैं जीत नहीं सकता। ठीक है, ये तुम्हारा बेस केस हो जाएगा। और तुम्हारा जनरल केस में पहले तुम ये कंसिडर करना कि अगर मेरा n अगर ऑड है, अगर ऑड है तब तो मैं 2 to the power x वाला चीज को कंसिडर कर ही नहीं पाऊंगा ना, x x 2 to the power k वाला फॉर्म, बिकॉज वो तभी डिविजिबल हो पाएगा n से जब n इवन होगा। अगर n तुम्हारा 64 है तभी इट्स फैक्टर्स कैन बी 2 4 8 16, बट अगर n 65 है तब तो कोई चांस ही नहीं है कि तुम्हारा 2 4 6 इनका फैक्टर्स होगा। अगर n ऑड है तो सीधे सीधे उसको मूव 2 खेलना होगा। देखो अगर यहाँ पे बोला है रूल्स में कि अगर मूव 1 पॉसिबल नहीं है देन प्लेयर विल सब्ट्रैक्ट 1 फ्रॉम n, तब तुम्हें विनर ऑफ n-1 कैलकुलेट करना होगा। और बिकॉज ये बॉब का चांस जाएगा तो यहाँ पे इन्वर्ट कर देना इसे थोड़ा। ठीक है, ये तुम्हारा एक केस 1 हो गया। अच्छा एक सेकेंड जस्ट आई फाइन, ये तुम्हारा केस 1 हो गया। केस 2 क्या होगा कि अगर n इवन है उसमें भी 2 केसेस जाएंगे। अगर n इज ओनली मल्टीपल ऑफ 2 बट n इज नॉट मल्टीपल ऑफ 4, तब क्या होगा, तब लाइक x जो है वो ओनली 2 होगा बट 4 8 वाले जो नंबर है वो हो नहीं पाएगा। तब यू हैव गॉट ओनली वन चॉइस, you need to determine f of n/2 because you have to divide it by 2, you have got no other choice। so ये तुम्हें compute करना होगा। and अगर the final case अगर n is the modulo 4 is 0, तब simply you need to return 1, मतलब you need to return कि I am the winner। is it clear up until this point, the 3 cases? Hello, कि if n is odd then what, if n is even then there are 2 cases, if n is multiple of 2 but not divisible but not multiple of 4, and finally तुम्हारा जो होगा कि if n is multiple of 4। यही 3 केसेस होंगे। इज इट क्लियर कि इन तीनों केसेस में क्या क्या होगा? n ऑड होगा तो तुम्हें यू हैव टू लाइक n-1 कर देना होगा। अगर n is multiple of 2 but not a multiple of 4, then you have to divide n by 2, and if n is multiple of 4 then simply you win the game there and then you terminate। okay, if this is clear then I'm quickly showing my code to you। just a second। yeah, so this is exactly what I did. I defined a function which determines the winner, and the base case is if n equal to 0 then return false, and otherwise I've got three cases here. If n is not if n is an odd quantity, then the game will progress with n-1. If n is multiple of 2 but not a multiple of 4, then I have to divide n by 2 and the game will progress. And if n is multiple of 4, then the current player wins। and simply then I took the input n, and yeah, this is my main run, the main function। I simply take the value of n and then it computes the winner, and if Alice wins, then I say that Alice is the winner, if Bob wins, then I say Bob is the winner। so this is the code it gave me AC। so this is it। is there any doubt here? If there is no doubt, then I'm proceeding with the next problem. If there's any doubt, then you can let me know, because
This function w considers that can you go to this function? Yes. So in this function w, we consider that it is Alice who is it is Alice's turn and Alice has to compute n, right?
exactly like मैंने जैसे बोला था कि
Okay, got
every
it, got
time
it.
when you are planning a game strategy, you always think in point of you always think that I am Alice and I have to win। तो मैं कंसिडर कर रहा हूँ कि I am Alice and मैं फंक्शन को भी उस हिसाब से डिफाइन किया हूँ। एंड जस्ट टेक केयर हियर कि जब लाइक आई एम मेकिंग द मूव, मैं n को n-1 कर रहा हूँ, आई एम लाइक पुटिंग अ नॉट सिंबल हियर। नॉट सिंबल सिग्निफाइज कि अभी बॉब का चांस है। So if Bob does not win, automatically implies that Alice wins. And if Bob wins, it automatically implies that Alice loses। So I hope you understood that what I did exactly। ये invert कर रहा है पूरी चीज को। When I'm saying कि you recurse for n-1, I'm putting a not here। So that signifies कि ये it's the chance for the next player, and again it's again a chance for the next player. So Alice Bob, it goes on alternating until it becomes 0. I hope it's clear, whoever asked this.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, this is actually the main thing. You have to like figure out that how the game works. Now after that, you see this code is very small. It's like a simple recursive function. You have to define it and you have to call it, and then it gets executed. So that is it. That was the fourth problem that we had. Fine. And fine. So now we will have the fifth, this was the fifth problem actually. So now we have the sixth problem. So sixth problem, how many of you managed to solve it? Could you write it in the chat box? Because this was a pretty, I would say, not a easy problem, of course. It's a pretty intuitive problem. It's like things which strike to you by intuition. It's not that obvious that you look at it and the solution strikes to you. You have to like, okay, cool. So yeah, I'm just quickly telling you the rules of this game again. Fine. So we have got like, we only have this number n with us. That is the number that's given to us. And we need to find two numbers, a and b, such that number one, the difference of a and b is n. I'm assuming that a is the larger number, so a is greater than b. So this is the first criteria, that the difference of the two numbers should be n. And the second criteria is ki, like, see, they have defined ki number of distinct primes. Let's assume ki number of distinct primes of a number is d. Distinct prime क्या होता है कि suppose मेरा n अगर 10 है, तो उसके prime factors क्या होंगे? 1 is not a prime, 2 होगा and 5 होगा. So these are the primes. So their count is 2. So d of 10 would be 2, right? So यही होता है number of distinct primes. So number of distinct primes of A should be equal to number of distinct primes of B. ये है मेरा second criteria. So I need to, given n, I need to find two numbers A and B such that number one, the difference is n, and number two, the number of distinct d of A is equal to d of B. Is it clear? This is what we have to do in the problem. And very important, let's check the constraint, that what is the expected time complexity they want. And यहाँ पे कोई subtask नहीं है, एक ही subtask है. So here also we have n is 10 to the power 16. So यहाँ पे भी if we do something of order of n, it will not work because it's 16, not 6. Because just for the information, in 1 second, we can do 2 into 10 to the power 8 operations. And that also very simple, like addition, multiplication kind of operations, like iterations you can say. So if your n is, and this is also in C++, in Python, Java, it becomes even more slow. So in C++, 1 second is 2 into 10 to the power 8 operations. So if it's 10 to the power 16, then it will obviously time out. So yeah, this is what the question states. Is there any doubt about what we have to do? If not, then I'm proceeding. Cool. So case 1, if n is even, हमेशा यही चेक कर लिया करो, मतलब हमेशा बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन, लास्ट क्वेश्चन ऐसा था, इवन ऑड का 2 केस बन जाता है, इवन के लिए अलग हो जाता है, ऑड के लिए अलग हो जाता है. मतलब जनरली सारे जो नंबर थ्योरी वाले क्वेश्चंस होते हैं, जनरली दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस कि इवन ऑड से ही बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन सॉल्व हो जाते हैं. तो यहाँ पे देखते हैं n अगर इवन है ना, सपोज मेरा n 6 है और मुझे a एंड b पता करना है जिससे कि डिफरेंस मेरा 6 मेंटेन रहे और उनका नंबर ऑफ प्राइम्स भी सेम हो, तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ कि a को तो b को तो n ही बना दूं और a को 2 टाइम्स ऑफ n बना दूं. ये पता है क्यों होगा? बिकॉज 2n में तो ऑब्वियसली 2 एक प्राइम फैक्टर रहेगा ही रहेगा और बाकी रिमेनिंग n के प्राइम फैक्टर, सपोज k नंबर ऑफ प्राइम फैक्टर्स है, इंक्लूडिंग n, एक्सक्लूडिंग n, आई डोंट केयर, बट k नंबर ऑफ प्राइम फैक्टर्स है. बट ये जो सीधा n है उसके भी k नंबर ऑफ प्राइम फैक्टर्स है, डिस्टिंक्ट प्राइम्स है. बट यहाँ पे देखो n इवन है, तो n इवन है यानी कि 2 would be a part of k, 2 would be a part of the set k because n even है. n suppose मेरा ये क्लियर है ना कि because ये 2 ऑलरेडी इसका पार्ट होगा. जस्ट आई एम गिविंग यू एग्जांपल. हाँ मैं n 6 लिया था, मिटाया क्या से. b को 6 मान लो, a को 12 मान लो, 2n है, तो इसके प्राइम फैक्टर्स में मतलब 2 into 6 है. तो इसके प्राइम फैक्टर्स में तुम्हारा 2 ऑलरेडी होगा ही होगा बिकॉज ये n तुम्हारा इवन है एंड 3 होगा, और इसके भी प्राइम फैक्टर्स में 2 एंड 3 ही होगा. जो एडिशनल जो 2 है वो यहाँ पे ऑलरेडी इंक्लूडेड है. तो दिस इंप्लाइज कि नंबर ऑफ प्राइम फैक्टर्स इन a एंड नंबर ऑफ प्राइम फैक्टर्स इन b वुड ऑलवेज बी इक्वल, एंड इनका जो डिफरेंस है वो भी 6 है ना. समझ में आया कि अगर n मेरा इवन है, n मेरा इवन है अगर, तो मैं सिंपली a को तो 2n बना दूंगा और b को n बना दूंगा और मेरा काम खत्म हो गया. एनी डाउट? इवन वाले केस में किसी को कोई डाउट है, कोई परेशानी है, कोई दिक्कत है, प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्व्स एंड लेट मी नो, बिकॉज ये सबसे सिंपल केस था. n इवन है तो एज सिंपल एज दैट मेरा 2n एंड n आंसर हो जाएगा और मेरा डिफरेंस तो n होगा ही होगा, और साथ ही साथ इन दोनों की जो नंबर ऑफ प्राइम फैक्टर्स होंगे वो भी सेम होंगे एज आई जस्ट शोड यू. अगर समझ में नहीं आए तो मैं दोबारा एग्जांपल लेके समझा सकता हूँ, एंड अगर ये क्लियर है तो आई विल मूव ऑन विद द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. हेलो, एनी डाउट? ओके, आई गेस नॉट. आई एम प्रोसीडिंग विद द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. इवन का तो पार्ट क्लियर हो गया. अभी कंसिडर करते हैं कि n अगर और होगा तो क्या कर सकते हैं, है ना. तो एक में बट इंट्यूटिव अप्रोच तुम लोग को बोल रहा हूँ कि अपने को a एंड b पता करना है, जहाँ पे अपना जो a है वो b से ग्रेटर है. तो मान के चलो कि n a है n इंटू k1 और b है n इंटू k2. मैं एज्यूम कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है, जस्ट लेट थोड़ी देर के लिए मान के चलो कि a is n times of k1, b is n times of k2. तो अभी अपना लाइक क्वेश्चन में कंस्ट्रेंट क्या था कि a minus b should be n, राइट. तो अपना a minus b n होना चाहिए. तो n a को तो मैं n k1 लिख दिया और b को तो मैं n k2 लिख दिया, तो ये n हो जाएगा. यस और नो? तो बस n मैं अज्यूम कर रहा हूँ कि n मेरा 0 नहीं है, नहीं तो इन्फिनिटी हो जाएगा, या आई गेस कंस्ट्रेंट में है कि n तुम्हारा 1 से बड़ा है, सो आई कैन डिवाइड ऑल ऑफ देम बाय n. सो अपना k1 माइनस k2 1 हो गया. सो आई कैन से कि k2 मेरा k1 माइनस 1 है. बोल सकता हूँ, पक्का बोल सकता हूँ. व्हाट आई सेड कि a मेरा है n इंटू k1, b मेरा है n इंटू k2. तो तब मुझे वो कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई करवाने के बाद मेरा k2 जो है वो k1 माइनस 1 है, जस्ट k1 से एक कम है. तो अगर मैं k1 सपोज 7 निकाल लेता हूँ ना तो मेरा k2 6 आ जाएगा. यही सिंपल बात है कि दोनों कंसेक्यूटिव नंबर्स है, ठीक है. दिस आई हैव प्रूव्ड. सो नाउ व्हाट वी नीड टू डू इज कि बस k1 k2 पता करना है, तब अपना काम सॉल्व हो गया. k1 k2 का वैल्यू रख देंगे, a एंड b पता चल गया एंड वी आर डन. कूल. अभी मुझे एक ऑप्टिमल स्ट्रैटेजी पता करना होगा कि क्या हो गया ये, सो सॉरी. I hope my screen is visible again. By mistake, yeah, cool. So I need to find k1 and actually मुझे k1 ही पता करना है. I need to find मुझे क्या करना है, I need to find k1. So after I find k1, I will get to know k2 because k2 is simply k1 minus k2, k1 minus 1. Now after I get k1, k2, I will get a and b and I am sorted. So I somehow need to find the value of k1, and it's a very intuitive thinking actually. कि since मेरा जो a and b है उसके number of primes मेरे same है and difference मेरा n है, so मैं क्यों ना इसको एक odd value मान के चलो, because ये तो मेरा k into n1 है मतलब k1 into n है, ये मेरा k2 into n है, तो क्यों ना मैं k1 को एक प्राइम नंबर मान के चलूं, राइट? मैं k1 को एक प्राइम नंबर मान के चलूंगा, तब मेरा काम बहुत इजी हो जाएगा, बिकॉज एक प्राइम वैल्यू की ना नंबर ऑफ डिस्टिंक्ट प्राइम्स कितने होंगे, इधर 1 होगा या इटसेल्फ होगा, 1 तो प्राइम होता नहीं है, तो ओनली इटसेल्फ होगा, राइट? तो मैं इसीलिए बोल रहा हूँ कि k1 को एक प्राइम लेना चलना इट्स इंट्यूटिव, कोई ऐसा मैथमेटिकल प्रूफ नहीं है कि मैं ऐसा क्यों कर रहा हूँ, इट्स सिंपल इंट्यूशन कि मैं k1 को एक प्राइम नंबर लेके चलूंगा। एंड इट ऑल्सो मेक सेंस कि अभी जो मैं k1 है इससे प्राइम नंबर लेके चलूंगा, ये मेरा इंट्यूशन बोल रहा है। एंड साथ ही साथ ये जो प्राइम नंबर है इट शुड नॉट बी अ फैक्टर ऑफ n। ये क्यों, ये मैं इजीली प्रूव कर सकता हूँ कि मान के चलो तुम्हारा n अगर 10 है, ओके, तो अगर सपोज मैं मेरा सपोज k1 अगर सपोज मेरा 5 आ जाता है जो कि एक प्राइम नंबर है, तो ऑटोमेटिकली k2 मेरा क्या होगा, 4 होगा, k1 - 1। तो अगर मैं इस हिसाब से मैं a मेरा क्या हो जाएगा 5 into 10 50 और b मेरा क्या हो जाएगा 4 into 10 40, दोनों का डिफरेंस 10 आ रहा है, बहुत अच्छी बात है। बट इसका जो प्राइम फैक्टर जब निकालूंगा ना, तो ये क्या है 5 into 10 है, तो इसका एक 2 होगा और एक 5 होगा, और इसका एक 2 होगा और एक 5 होगा, आई मीन यहाँ पे 5 नहीं होगा, आई एम सो सॉरी, 8 into 5 या 2 होगा 5 होगा एंड 5 या सो 2, यहाँ पे भी 2 and 5 ही होगा। सो यहाँ पे नंबर ऑफ प्राइम्स शुड बी एक्चुअली, एक सेकेंड a is 5 b is 40, तो यहाँ पे नंबर ऑफ प्राइम्स would be हाँ ठीक है। सो द थिंग इज कि जो तुम्हारा जो k1 जो तुम चूज करोगे ना, ये दो प्रॉपर्टीज सेटिस्फाई होना चाहिए, इट शुड बी अ प्राइम नंबर एंड इट शुड नॉट बी अ फैक्टर ऑफ n। So these are the two criteria that you need to satisfy, and if you don't satisfy this property, then you can easily prove that it will not work. So what I can do for this is I will जो suppose ये मुझे k1 choose करना है इस टाइप का, तो बस यही प्रॉब्लम है, you need to choose a value of k1 which is you need to choose the smallest prime number which is not a factor of n, such that that value, that prime n modulo our value, prime value is not 0। बस यही करता है तुम लोग को। Is it clear? If it's clear, then I can show my code to you to make it even more clear. Is it clear till this point? कि what's, it's a bit, I know it's a bit complicated, मैं वापस एक recap दे रहा हूँ तुम लोग को कि yeah, so problem का rules was this कि हमें ये दो property satisfy करवाना है। Then case 1 में n अगर even है तो easily showed you कि 2n and n से अपना काम चल जाएगा। So that was a very easy case। And अगर अपना case 2 जो है कि ये this is case 2 क्योंकि n odd है, तब मैंने assume किया कि a को n into k - 1 consider करो, b को n into k2 consider करो। Now after that you get this equation कि k2 is k1 - 1। Yeah, k2 is k1 - 1. So if you find k1, then you can easily determine k2. That's only 1 less than the value of k1. And after that, once you do that, then you just need to find the value of k1. And it's a very intuitive thinking that the value of k1 should be a prime value and it should not be a factor of n, because if it's a factor of n, then if you try out with some examples, it will not work. मतलब जो number of factors होंगे a and b में वो different हो जाएंगे, same नहीं होंगे. Anyone any doubt? Because अभी जैसे इसका code implementation दिखा दूंगा मैं तुम लोग को, and it would be clear. But ये जो अपना approach है, इसमें किसी को कोई doubt है तो please unmute and speak up. Even वाला तो I guess सबको clear हो ही गया होगा, right? Even वाला तो किसी को I guess कोई doubt नहीं होगा कि 2n and n क्यों ले रहे हैं हम लोग, because उसका difference तो n है ही, and साथ ही साथ उसके number of prime factors भी same होंगे. Odd वाला थोड़ा tricky है. Even I agree. I also couldn't solve this problem during the contest. I admit it. But after the contest, I saw that this is how it works. So I like encourage. अभी भी I'm sure कि most of you पूरा convincing feeling नहीं आया होगा. So I just request you कि after the session is over, just again read the problem and try to work with the test cases. तो पक्का तुम विश्वास करोगे मैं क्या बोलना चाह रहा हूँ. So अभी के लिए just I'm leaving up to you guys to figure it out. Just I'm showing you my code कि अगर n is a even value, then simply 2n and n कर देंगे. अपना a is 2n, b is n, and we are done. अगर अपना it's not a even number, then we need to find the value of k1. ये k1 को मैंने x मान लिया था. So अभी it's the smallest prime, जैसे I told you कि this our k1 or our x, मैं इसको x मान रहा हूँ. X is the smallest prime number which is not a factor of n. मैं just like I'm considering it as prime. I already like pre-computed the primes here. I had made an array of primes up to 100, and after that I first मैंने इसको 3 रखा. मैंने चेक किया कि n modulo x क्या 3 divisible है. If नहीं, अगर है तो it will not work. I will again move to 5, then 7, then 11, then 13 and so on. And अगर मैं suppose 13 काम कर जा रहा है तो simply मेरा आंसर होगा 13 into n or 12 into n. So my answer would be n into x or b होगा n into x minus 1. Simply I will output the answers and I'm done. And if you don't believe me, then just check this and that this worked for me. So this passed all the 4 test cases. So yeah, this is it. This is how the 4th problem works, and this is, I agree, it's a pretty intuitive but tricky problem. And yeah, if you ask me that how will such intuition come to me during the contest time, the only answer is it will come with practice, because like एक तो बात तुम लोग समझ गए ना कि नंबर थ्योरी वाले प्रॉब्लम में बेसिकली ऑड एंड इवन वाला चक्कर बहुत चलता है कि इधर ऑड में ऐसा होगा, पैरिटी जो बोलते हैं. सो वो इट्स कम्स, बट थोड़ा बहुत जैसे प्राइम का चक्कर होता है देन कि प्राइम वाला कभी कभी काम कर जाता है. तो ये थोड़े बहुत जो होगा वो एक्सपीरियंस से आ जाएगा कि like even odd वाला चीज, then prime वाला चीज. So this is how it all works. So yeah, this is it. So we are done with the 6 problems of the Div 3 contest that we had yesterday. All right. So now would anyone like to ask anything? They would like to share their own approach of how they solved any of the first 6 problems, and please feel free to unmute yourselves and speak up. किसी को of all the 6 problems कोई doubt या कोई परेशानी? Even if like you say that I solved it in this way, which differs from my way, then also you can unmute and share your approach. Maybe you solved it with a different and more elegant and efficient approach. Then please speak up and share. And yeah, one more thing. I hope that a feedback form has been shared. So I request everyone to fill in the feedback form, because our your feedback is very valuable for us, and it would help to evaluate ourselves and then improve and think that what needs to be done. If not, then it's fine. So I think we don't have any more doubts. So this is it. We are done with